See what happens. Okay, let's go to college football world. We've spent a lot of time the last 2 days on the saga at Michigan State. It continues to be messy. Right now, the latest update that I saw was Mel put his statement out. Brenda basically denied the statement. Those two had a little bit of a back and forth. There was an update last night that Brenda Tracy basically confirmed she was not the one who wanted this to go public. Someone, an unconfirmed third source, leaked her name, basically her identity in this. And once it became clear that her name was going to be made available to the public, she did what she could to tell the full story from her side. So that's a very interesting note, in my opinion, probably warrants a discussion. We're not going to discuss that on this video. Maybe we will at some point next week. What we are going to discuss right now is Michigan State football as a program. Harlon Barnett steps in as the interim head coach. Mark D'Antonio is the associate head coach. He's going to be on a headphone, we are told. Harlon Barnett is doing the interviews right now. He's sort of taking on the face of Michigan State football amidst this crisis. So I want to put it to you. Who should Michigan State football commit to as their head coach long term? Is it Harlon? Is it Mark? Should they go for an outside hire? And if they do go for an outside hire, who are the candidates you think would make sense?
Okay, so I guess I'll go through in order, kind of what you spoke about on this. I do not think that Mark should be the next head coach. I do not. I think that, like I mentioned on the last episode, he's kind of brought in as a stabilizer in this situation, a familiar face, familiar with the program. And like you mentioned too, he's a kind of a culture, energy, Spartan dog guy, obviously, because he created that culture. So having that as a stabilizing feature while all this mess is going on around the football program is going to be massive. Do not think that should translate into him actually taking over the head coaching job, nor do I think he really wants to, for reasons I talked about yesterday. You know, given his time he's already put into the program, age, everything else that's going on in his life. I think it would take a special season for Harlon to be the head coach. I don't necessarily would put him on the high list of guys I'd want to be my head coach, but at the same time, if he has an unreal season this year and something happens where we're just, I don't know, we lose one game, we lose two games, and we make a New Year's game bowl. It's going to be hard. There's going to be decisions to be made, but I don't really necessarily see that happening. So I do think it's an outside hire, and I came up with some names, or I had two guys that I would personally want for this football team. I think it's guys that have built programs. I think it's guys that do good as far as recruiting and transfers. And also with the Big Ten shifting and bringing in like the West Coast teams, I think actually having a coach from the West Coast who has West Coast ties would help a little bit in getting those guys over to Michigan State. So I had two names, and they're not realistic. Maybe they might be realistic. I don't know. These are just the two names I picked. I got Whittingham from Utah. I think he's a really, really good coach. I think he's done a really good job of building that Utah program in a tough Pac-12 to go up against the likes of like USC and UCLA. And I just think he's overall a really good football coach. And no coincidence for my second choice here, and I'd be interested to hear what you got to say on this, Kalen DeBoer from Washington. And go ahead and bring Penix with you for another year, for seventh year. But I do think he's a really good football coach. I think he's done great things at Washington, building that program up as well. I didn't necessarily mean for this to come from two Pac-12 schools, but it just kind of went out that way in my head. And the other choice I had was another Pac-12 school, Coach Smith from Oregon State. I think Oregon State's actually been really, really good these past couple of years in a situation where they don't have a lot of money or resources. And he's done a pretty good job both in recruiting and the transfer portal. So those are the three guys I have. I'd love for you to rank those choices for me.
Okay. Give me the cycle in order again. Who do you want me to rank?
Whittingham, DeBoer, and Smith. Smith from Oregon State.
DeBoer won. I don't have a preference between the other two.
Really, DeBoer over Whittingham?
Mm-hmm.
See, I think Whittingham would be my first choice.
Really?
Yeah, after you make Nick Saban say no.
Is that because you think he's the best football coach, or because you think he's the most likely? Also, you got to get chuckle out of that Saban joke.
Yeah. I had to work that in there. You make Coach Saleh say no from the Jets, okay? Aaron Rodgers is hurt. Get rid of Zach Wilson. Come
Saleh
coach us.
was they were after Saleh when they hired Tucker, right?
I don't know. No, I think he was with the Jets already.
He was one of the rumored finalists. Oh, I
Was
went
he?
back and I was looking at like articles from when they were after Mel. It was like it was Fickle, Saleh, and Tucker.
Because at least I was under the impression that Saleh was always an NFL guy, but
He might have been bound
obviously,
there anyway, but I think there was at least a phone call on it. But
okay, yeah, got nothing I love more than the make them say no comment when a coaching search is on. You just got to make them say no. But no, I think Whittingham's the best out of those football coaches. And my Utah bias might be showing. You know how I feel about Utah. I just think I think he's a really good football coach. I think he's built something great there. And it wasn't like that before he got there.
okay. Yeah, I think DeBoer would be my pick, with or without Penix. Penix is awesome, but
DeBoer's offenses is fun.
yeah, I think I'm shaded by that. I'm shaded by fun offense.
You want to see that offense in Spartan Stadium. I don't blame you there.
I'm a fun offense guy. What's like, okay, can we put some percentage chances on this? Like percent chance outside hire versus percent chance Harlan Barnett.
You really set me up for failure when you ask me about percentages things. You really do.
You do hate percentages.
I do hate percentages. I'm reflected by my percentages when I played. I would say,
like, is it a greater than 50-50 chance that
yes,
Harlan Barnett is the
higher,
coach?
like I think outside higher 70, inside 30.
How much of it depends on how good Barnett does this season? Like if Harlan Barnett somehow beats Michigan, is he the coach no matter what else happens?
I think it makes the decision tougher, but I don't think he ends up being the next head coach.
Okay. I can promise you this. If Harlan Barnett is the interim head coach and Michigan State beats Michigan, he's the head coach.
Just beats Michigan?
Oh. Why do you think Mel got a contract?
I mean, Mel went 11.
Get it.
No,
I get
Mel
it.
did a lot more than beat Michigan. He went 11-2.
It's a good season. It's a good season. I think that program places, and I'm not even saying it's wrong to place such importance on it, but I think that program is built around placing 100% of their importance on beating Michigan.
That's fine, but also a lesson that needs to be learned from this is that shouldn't carry so much weight, because we did that and we ended up tied up the Mel for $95 million.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think Michigan State is also like in a place where they should be able to both supremely care about the rivalry, care about it more than Michigan does, but also see the bigger picture that they could compete nationally beyond just beating Michigan. So yeah, okay. All right. I think there's a higher chance Barnett sticks than you just said. But do
you have any preference at all?
I don't know enough about Harlan. I want to see what his football team looks like.
Either do I, speaking personally. I don't. So I would need to know more, I guess.
I want to see what his football team looks like for a couple games before I go harshly in either direction. I think DeBoer on paper is a better head coach than a guy who hasn't done it. But again, let's give him a shot. We'll see what happens. I think if Michigan State like overachieves, and I think there's a decent chance this roster overachieves given the scandal. Like, I think expectations are as low as they possibly could be. Noah Kim just won Big Ten Player of the Week. Like, there's a chance this team wins some games they're not supposed to. And if they do, like, what do you do? Like, whether it's Harlan or whether it's Mark, I think it would be Harlan and not Mark. If one of those two attaches themselves to a team that wins more games than they should here and then says, I want to be the head coach. Like, I don't know how you go outside of that if they do well, but they have to do well first. They might not do well, and then national hire comes in. What's last question for me on this? Is there like a budget? Like if they were to go national hire, they're not going to make the Mel mistake again, are they? Like what does budget look like for a head coach for Michigan State today?
Depends on how much we're going to have to end up paying Mel.
Yeah, you got to decide that first and then figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make Brian Hartline say no.
It's going to be fascinating to watch.